Hey folks, welcome back to WarThunder. So, I've heard recently that the Conqueror's gun is getting a pretty massive reload buff in the next patch, which will take it to around 10 seconds aced. I think at the minute mine is something like 16, 17 seconds, so having it almost halved. Oh, good start there. Having it almost halved will make this tank way more viable, and I've actually been having quite a lot of fun with it in Sim. My only complaint is that in this particular event you can't have the vampire to back it up, you have to use a prop. So I'd rather it get jets instead of props to back it up, but yeah, can't really complain that much. But anyway, so we're on the big ass version of Eastern Europe. Very slow tank, very big target, good frontal armor, though the mantlet is a weak spot. Long reload, as we've already discussed. Quite bad optics. And there's also, at least, I don't know if it gets a rangefinder later on in the modifications, but currently mine doesn't have a rangefinder. So right now I'm having to just base my guesstimations on my experiences in other tanks. But because the velocity on this gun isn't something that I'm used to, and because this level of zoom isn't something I'm used to, I'm actually struggling quite a lot to dial the shots in. So we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. Just call him out to the team. See if I can reacquire him. I do obviously have my crew skills to provide me with range, but as you can see it's limited to 1120 meters, which is pretty much useless. I should be able to finish him off now that he's stationary. I don't know what a track repair time is. 3254, 1951 I think that is. He might... No. No time to get out of the way. I have actually brought quite a lot of hash into this game with me because I feel like a lot of the targets that you see at in this event, they're all like 8-0 and below, and none of them have any kind of fancy composite armor. Russian tanks don't generally have add-on armor on them like tracks, or you know, like a lot of the German tanks. Sorry, when you're flying RB, they have track links and stuff stuck on them, and there's like storage boxes on the turrets, and that kind of stuff just really screws with hash or chemical rounds in general, really. But against the Russians, especially pre-composite Russians, hash is actually remarkably effective. So I have brought some, but with the reload being as it is, and with the ranges being what they are in this match, and the fact that I'm really not that confident with aiming APDS, let alone hash, probably not going to end up using it. Plan for this match is going to be pretty much to just work this ridge that I'm on right now. They'll have to push quite far to get good shots on me, and if I do start taking fire, then simply rotating the tank to face the threat should be sufficient. They can pen my gun mantlet through the coax hole, or I guess it's the coax, I don't know, there's definitely some kind of weak spot and they can just bore straight through it. And there's a ready rack in front of the loader on the left front side of the turret, so if they get through the gun breach area, then it's pretty much game over, because most Russian tanks at this tier are using APHE. should really start learning to put my phone on silent before recording stuff like this. Okay, so we know now that there's a T-54 down here sat on B cap. My guess is that he's gonna show himself around the left or the right side of these buildings. So I'm just sort of aiming in the middle so that I can catch him either way he comes out. If I were him, I'd probably be moving to cross the canal or pushing further up. So the only way he can really get out of this situation is by backing up the way that he came, and that doesn't lead him to any likely areas that might be tanks for him to kill, or any cap points that haven't already been taken by his team. So logically, in my mind, there should be no way for him to go anywhere without me seeing him unless I get distracted or killed. I am sat in a really terrible position though right now, and although the armor on this thing is pretty good, the mobility really isn't. So if I do start taking fire, then chances are that I'll die whilst I'm trying to get out of the way of it. So I decide to just move on because that guy hasn't shown himself yet, and I can't really risk just sitting there and waiting for him to, because, you know, even if he does, there's no guarantee I'll even hit him. I'm not that familiar with this gun, and although it's unlikely, he can kill me from the front, so it's best to not just tempt fate and move on. So I'm sort of weighing up options here. This tank is best used at range. Weak spots on it are small, but it does have some, so the further you are from the target, the less likely you are to get killed by them. And by the same token, you don't really lose that much effectiveness at distance because, you know, you have this high velocity kinetic energy cannon. So spotting them before they spot you and being as far away as possible gives me the greatest number of advantages. So I do want to move to somewhere with a vantage point, good line of sight, that keeps my view wide and my options open. So the top of the hill to our south on the map would be a good position, I think. However, there is the issue of their spawn being just further south of that, and that opens me up to being flanked quite easily if I focus my attention on the town, so I'm still kind of in two minds about what I'm going to do. They do seem to be contesting B though. It keeps flip-flopping between who's capturing it, and someone's just been pinged just to the west, southwest of it, so I think I'm probably going to find somewhere around this area. We've captured most of the strategic zones. I'll try and get line of sight on B and pull back enough to use the terrain to cover my hull, and then just hope that whilst I'm just trying to deal with these threats around B that no one comes up on my side. Try and keep my awareness as good as possible, but I just keep constantly scanning around, and hopefully that'll be sufficient and I'll see the targets before they see me. If I park among all these bushes and don't move too much, then hopefully anyone that's just quickly scanning around and searching for movement primarily won't immediately see me. So we've got a friendly pushing up in front, we've got white smoke, so some tank somewhere has popped smoke. Not sure yet whether it's friendly or not, but we are seeing tracer fire. That looks like it might be an enemy. Wow. Thanks, Guardian. I'm not sure if... I'm not sure who killed who there. I'm not sure if it was my target that died or some other one. Got that one though. With the Conqueror's gun, it has quite bad parallax, so you might have noticed that I have my gun sight set to 1,000 meters. I'll do this for pretty much every tank that I play in Sim. All of them... Oh, that's an enemy. It always seems to pan so much more once it's got inside the tank. It struggles to actually break armor, but once it's inside a tank, it just seems to go all the way through everything and then out the other side. Something about the pen and the post-pen damage mechanics are really kind of fucky in this game. But anyway, as I was saying, the gun sight is very high, set back and to the right of the actual gun barrel. So by setting the sight to 1,000 meters, this is something that will differ from tank to tank, but 1,000 meters means that the shot will rise to my point of aim and then fall. Usually it would never reach my point of aim, so I'd have to constantly aim high. This just sort of eliminates that variable. Wow, did you see that? I only just noticed this watching the video back, but that shell shattered like on his flat sidearm. Bounce there. Somehow got his engine, which required it to pass basically through his crew compartment, and yet somehow the crew didn't die. He must have quite a high level crew. Probably pretty good vitality stats. That loader is made out of some tough shit. The fire killed him though, so high crew but no FPE. He's quite close to their spawn as well, so he probably respawned recently, which means that it's unlikely they've used his fire prevention equipment charges already. Odd. B is being contested again, so let's go see if we can... Yeah, there he is. There he goes. Nice tidy ace. I do enjoy using this thing a lot in Sim. I think that next time I play it out I might try and focus on Hesh a bit more. Maybe practice, see what the shot placement's like on the test range or something. I also need to see if it gets a rangefinder in the modifications, because if it does then that'll make using Hesh a shitload easy. I've also noticed, actually, now we're on the topic, that the chieftains get this 50 cal that's meant to be a ranging gun for the Hesh, but if you actually try and use it, then you'll find that the regular coax MG actually seems to be better at it than the so-called ranging gun, and that led me to try it on the Conqueror, and also especially on the FV 4005. And the FV 4005's regular coax is actually pretty much bang on where the shell goes, even though to my knowledge it's not supposed to be a ranging gun. And that makes me wonder whether the Conqueror's coax might be the same. So if it is, then that's good news, because it means I can try and use it for the closer range shots. We'll have to wait and see, and I'll test it out on the next... Well, I hesitate to say next video, because there's really no knowing what the next video will be, but next time I take it out I'll definitely experiment with that a bit. So, 2 planes left, MiG-9 and a Yak 15, 17, looks like. Maybe a Yak 23, not a MiG-9. I think that's what I put in chat, yeah. But they're the last 2 guys left on the team, so that's game. Shame we couldn't get more than an ace, but I'll take it. Good result either way. Stick some RP towards the mods. Really not sure how close to spaded this thing. I know I don't have the army yet, obviously. I'm not sure about the mobility mods. You don't need to get ammo, because that really is one of the best things about the British tanks, I think. But yeah, that's game. So let's just skip ahead and check out the results screen. So first on the team, actually kind of underwhelming vehicle and modification research. I actually have every single tank for the British tree unlocked, so I guess the research isn't really going on anything. But then I would have thought that the gains would make it so that they're similar to something of its own sort of tier, so you'd expect the gains to be alright. But I actually got Mission Maker. That's a pretty rare reward. First and last kill. Survivor. Everything else is pretty run-of-the-mill. I always feel like those shadow strike things and the professional, it never seems to actually add up to the number of times that you'd expect it to. Maybe that's just me, but anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, subscribe, leave comments, all that jazz, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Cheers.